Love Makes a Difference is one in a series of EPs released last year by Durham, North Carolina rapper, storyteller, cultural documentarian, and co-host of the Black Male podcast, Tre-Dot. My introduction to his work came in the form of a request by Dallas producer DJ Kawan to review their debut collaborative EP, Final Tears. In addition to being a last-minute entry in my best albums of 2025 list, Final Tears immediately connected with my experience of losing my father in the same year. Tre-Dot categorizes his songs as documented memories, and the way he was able to express the resilience shown during his father's last days over Kawan's appropriately moody production struck a chord with me. By comparison, Love Makes a Difference is brighter and more optimistic, with lighter, breezier production and lyrics centered on love for one's family and for oneself. What I truly admire about Tre-Dot's songwriting on this EP is how he articulates the importance of a strong family dynamic in regards to one's mental health and emotional expression. Thematically, he keeps things personal, with mentions of his wife, son, and other family members. And thankfully, he does it in such a way that there's no need to pry into Tre-Dot's personal life to fully understand what he's rapping about. On the subject of his wife, Tre-Dot dedicates 3 of the EP's 7 tracks to her, starting with Only You. Over a smooth 70s soul-inspired instrumental, Tre-Dot raps about how his wife showed love and support through some rather turbulent times in his life and career. But what makes this track a true highlight is how vulnerable he presents himself at the very beginning of this EP. Although he delivers his bars in a boisterous, confident tone and takes the opportunity to incorporate some intricate rhymes into his second verse, he never postures himself to appear tough or macho. Like all of us, he's a flawed, imperfect individual who needs a strong support system when he feels incapable of overcoming life's obstacles. The following track, Love Story, is just as endearing, with its quiet storm-style production, lyrics centered on finding and rediscovering love for your significant other, and a catchy hook sung by Tre-Dot himself. What holds this track back for me is the mix, which is going for an analog cassette sound, but thanks to the few seconds of cassette hiss that bookends the song, leads to a noticeable shift in audio quality when it transitions to the following track. I will say that the cassette aesthetic works better on the EP's centerpiece, Yes I, simply because the instrumentation plays out to the very end, leading to a smoother transition into the next track. And while Love Story presented Tre-Dot's introspective look at love, Yes I is an unapologetically passionate anthem for his wife. It's easily the best track on this EP, thanks to the pairing of its irresistibly upbeat instrumental, laced with old school boom bap drums and spirited piano chords, with Tre-Dot's fun, flirty, and celebratory lyrics. Preceding Yes I is Gone by Tomorrow, whose spoken word intro perfectly sums up Tre-Dot's heartfelt approach to this EP and his music in general. In many ways, usually generational, men are taught that showing vulnerability and expressing emotions like fear and sadness are signs of weakness. The end results range from depression and addiction to a reactionary and oftentimes violent response to opposition of varying degrees. Over the track's reflective production, Tre-Dot highlights how his choice of the healthier option of embracing vulnerability and emotional expression continues to benefit him. In particular, his use of love for his family as fuel to overcome and learn from fear and failure. Going back to the smooth transition from Yes I, Single Malt builds from the sunny, party-oriented vibe of the preceding track and delivers a laid-back, almost nocturnal counterpoint. On this track, Tre-Dot paints a simple, straightforward portrait of a family get-together, which involves family members kicking back and possibly giving their feet a break after dancing to Yes I, eating, drinking, and enjoying their company. However, the real heart of the song comes in the second verse, where Tre-Dot expresses gratitude for meaningful time spent with his family and the hope that the subsequent years will be filled with love for one another. The record concludes with its 2 singles, Family Time and Lonely Road. The former starts off strong with the sound of a slide projector, and Tre-Dot heartily reacted to the images of himself and his brother when they were younger. Backed by a warm, jazzy instrumental provided by Tip Beats, Tre-Dot reminisces on his upbringing in New York by his parents, whose 60-year track record as a couple, as stated on the hook, is nothing short of inspirational, and reflects on how that strong bond among his extended family continues to impact his life as a parent himself. Lonely Road features the EP's sole guest performer, Red Dave, whose smoothly sung hook alone fits neatly over Ski Sharp's somber R&B production. Tre-Dot admirably pulls off an emotional balancing act on this track, celebrating the cherished moments he spent with family and friends while reminding himself of the inevitability of losing a loved one. But it's the third verse that truly moved me. Here, Tre-Dot uses the EP's overarching theme of love to fashion a final statement. Regardless of the internal and external pain we go through, we should be unafraid to show unconditional love to ourselves and to our loved ones. And with his final mention of his father at the end of that verse, it's clear that the unconditional love will continue to keep him emotionally sturdy, even when that pathway towards a brighter future feels lonely at times. Overall, I enjoyed and appreciated Love Makes a Difference. I always say that there's a place for vulnerability and sentimentality in the wild west that is hip-hop. And it's great to see an artist like Tre-Dot go all in on this adult contemporary hip-hop, which he also categorizes his music as sub-genre. Though I wholeheartedly recommend checking out Final Taste first, this EP is a good enough starting point for getting into Tre-Dot's music. And as someone who's only listened to 2 of his projects so far, I'm really liking Tre-Dot's emotionally driven approach to the conscious hip-hop subgenre, and I can't wait to hear what he brings to the table this year, which is why I'm feeling a 7 out of 10 on this EP. And that's my review of Love Makes a Difference, which, like his other EPs that he released last year, are now available on Bandcamp. If you've checked it out, feel free to let me know what your thoughts were on it in the description to this video. And yeah, it's a wrap.